Sarah stood in the grand ballroom of the Harrison family mansion, her 7-month pregnant belly protruding beneath her simple black maternity dress. Her hand trembled as she held the pen above the divorce papers. Around her, faces twisted with laughter and mockery. Her mother-in-law, Patricia, threw champagne in her direction, the expensive liquid barely missing her as it splashed onto the marble floor. "Just sign it already," sneered Jack Harrison, her husband of 3 years, his arm wrapped possessively around a young blonde woman in a red designer dress that cost more than what Sarah supposedly made in 2 months. When Sarah walked into that Christmas party, she had one mission: sign the papers and leave with her head held high. But sometimes the universe has other plans. Hello, beautiful souls. Before we dive into this incredible story, I need to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And hey, how are you doing today? Really, I want to know. If you're new here, welcome to our community where we explore stories about strength, dignity, and unexpected justice. If you haven't subscribed yet, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. This story, it's going to stay with you. The Harrison family Christmas party was a spectacle of wealth and pretension. A 15-foot tree sparkled with crystal ornaments imported from Europe, each one worth hundreds of dollars. An ice sculpture of Rudolph glistened under strategically placed spotlights, slowly melting onto a silver tray. Women in designer gowns air-kissed, while their husbands discussed golf handicaps and stock portfolios. The sound of forced laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, a symphony of privilege. And there stood Sarah Harrison, in her simple black maternity dress that cost $8,000 but looked like it came from a department store. Her wedding ring still adorned her finger, a 3-carat diamond that Jack once claimed nearly bankrupted him. The Louis Vuitton bag hanging from her shoulder, a cherished inheritance from her grandmother, had already been dismissed as a knockoff by Jack's sister Victoria. "God, I can't believe he wasted 3 years on that," whispered Brittany, Jack's new girlfriend, to Victoria as they watched Sarah from across the room. "Look at her. She probably shops at Target," Victoria snickered, twirling her champagne flute between manicured fingers. "At least he's upgrading." Brittany's father owns 3 car dealerships. They erupted into laughter, not bothering to lower their voices. Sarah's hand tightened around the pen, knuckles turning white. She looked down at the papers that would end her marriage, the legalese blurring through her unshed tears. With deliberate calm, she signed her name, Sarah Harrison. What they didn't know was that Sarah's father didn't own 3 car dealerships. He owned the land under 300 of them. Her phone buzzed in her purse. Sarah pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A text from Dad. "Sweetheart, I'm watching a live stream from outside. Say the word, and I'll come in." Sarah typed back quickly. "No. Let me handle this with grace." She put the phone away, straightened her spine, and prepared to walk out of the Harrison family's life forever, taking with her a secret that would destroy everything they thought they knew. 3 years earlier, Sarah stepped into the elevator of Horizon Tech's Midtown office building, her Harvard Business School diploma still fresh in its frame at her father's estate. She pressed the button for the 12th floor, where a marketing coordinator position awaited her, a position far beneath her qualifications, chosen deliberately. "You could run a division of Harrison Hotels tomorrow," her father had argued. "Why waste your talent at some startup where they'll have you making coffee?" Sarah had smiled, adjusting her purposefully modest watch. "Because I need to know, Dad. I need to know who I am without the Harrison name opening every door." Robert Harrison, billionaire real estate mogul with holdings spanning 5 continents, had stared at his only daughter with a mixture of frustration and pride. "Just promise me you'll use your mother's maiden name. The press would have a field day if they discovered my daughter working as a," he'd almost choked on the word, "coordinator." Now, as the elevator doors opened, Sarah took a deep breath. Sarah Chern, not Sarah Harrison. Just another graduate trying to build a career from the ground up. The weight of her secret identity both liberated and terrified her. Her deepest desire, to be loved for who she was, not what she was worth. Her deepest fear, that she would never know if someone truly loved her or just wanted access to her family's fortune. "You must be Sarah," said a voice that made her turn. A tall man with kind eyes extended his hand. "Jack Calloway. I'm heading the new product launch team." His handshake was firm, his smile genuine. Over the following weeks, Jack brought her coffee without being asked, listened to her marketing ideas with genuine interest, and made her laugh during late-night work sessions. He wasn't intimidated when she displayed business acumen beyond her position. He seemed to admire it. "You're wasted in this coordinator role," he told her over their third dinner date. "You should be running things." Sarah had tensed, wondering if he'd somehow discovered her secret. But his next words reassured her. "When I make it big, I want you beside me. We'd be unstoppable together." She'd smiled, relief washing over her. He saw potential in her, Sarah Chen's potential, not Sarah Harrison's inheritance. What she missed, what she would only recognize much later. Jack was always slightly embarrassed by her modest apartment, her practical car, her reluctance to charge expensive dinners to credit cards. "We'll upgrade someday," he'd promised, kissing her forehead. "When we make it." If you're feeling this story pulling at your heartstrings already, take a second to hit subscribe. Each week I share stories of remarkable strength and unexpected justice, and trust me, you'll want to see where Sarah's journey takes her. The supporting cast in Sarah's life revealed themselves over time. Patricia Calloway, Jack's mother, with her Brooks Brothers suits and Hermes scarves, remnants of old money mostly squandered by Jack's late father. From their first meeting, Patricia had evaluated Sarah like a subpar investment. Marketing coordinator? How quaint. Victoria Calloway, Jack's sister, documented every moment of her carefully curated life for her 15,000 Instagram followers, a number she mentioned within minutes of meeting Sarah. "Don't worry about not having designer clothes," she told Sarah during a family dinner. "Some people can pull off simple." Mei Zhang, Sarah's best friend since boarding school and the only person who knew her true identity, had warned her repeatedly. "Sarah, you need to tell him before the wedding. What happens when he discovers Robert Harrison is your father?" "He'll never find out," Sarah had insisted. "Dad uses shell companies for everything. His name isn't on anything public." "That's not the point," May had argued. "You're building a marriage on a lie." But Sarah couldn't risk it. The moment Jack knew the truth, she would forever wonder, did he love her, or her father's connections? The intimate moments had felt so real. Jack holding her hand across candlelit tables, planning their future together, proposing with tears in his eyes. "You make me want to be better," he'd whispered as he slid the ring onto her finger. And then, the moment that should have cemented their bond. "I'm pregnant," Sarah had told him 6 months ago, holding the positive test with trembling hands. Jack's face had flickered with something. Panic? Resentment. Before he'd pasted on a smile. That's wonderful, babe." But his embrace had felt hollow, his lips cold against her forehead. After that, she noticed his growing distance. Late nights at the office. Deleted text messages. Hushed phone calls. The familiar story of a man falling out of love just as his company began to take off. His startup suddenly attracting major investors, his social calendar filling with networking events where Sarah was increasingly unwelcome. "You look tired, babe," he'd say. "The baby needs you to rest. You stay home, I've got this." She never mentioned the business calls she'd overheard, the names of investors that made her stomach clench. Names from her father's inner circle. 2 weeks before Christmas, Jack placed a manila envelope on the kitchen counter as Sarah prepared a smoothie. Her morning sickness had finally subsided, replaced by a ravenous hunger and a growing excitement about the life inside her. "What's this?" she asked, wiping her hands on a dishcloth. Jack stood with uncharacteristic stillness, his usual charming smile nowhere to be found. "Divorce papers." The world tilted beneath Sarah's feet. "What?" "I've met someone else," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Someone who understands my vision. You're holding me back, Sarah. You and this baby, it's not the life I want." Her smoothie forgotten, Sarah leaned against the counter for support. "Jack, we can work through this. We're having a baby. I need the divorce finalized before Christmas, he interrupted, to start the new year fresh.
Fresh.
As if their 3 years together were something stale, something to be discarded. As if their child was an inconvenience rather than a miracle. It's Brittany, isn't it? Sarah asked, naming the Instagram model who'd been appearing in his company's promotional materials. Jack didn't deny it. Her father owns 3 successful car dealerships. She understands business, networking, image. Things you never cared about. The irony almost made Sarah laugh. Almost. That night, alone in their bed, Jack had moved into the guest room. Sarah faced the most difficult choice of her life. Option A. Reveal her identity. Use her father's power to destroy Jack's company, keep her marriage, force him to stay. Option B. Sign the papers. Walk away with dignity. Let him discover the truth naturally. May was furious when Sarah called her the next morning. Tell him who you are. Watch his face when he realizes he's divorcing Robert Harrison's daughter. Your father could buy his entire company with pocket change. If he can't love me as Sarah Chin, he doesn't deserve Sarah Harrison, Sarah replied, surprising herself with her own resolve. 2 days later, Sarah sat in the parking lot of her obstetrician's office, sobbing behind the wheel of her Honda Civic, the car Jack had always suggested they upgrade. The doctor had confirmed what Sarah already knew. Stress could complicate her pregnancy. Find support, he'd advised. This is no time to be alone. A gentle knock on her window startled her. A man in scrubs stood outside, concern etched on his face. Sarah rolled down the window, embarrassed at being caught in such a vulnerable moment. Are you okay? He asked.
I'm Dr. James Reed.
I work in pediatrics, next door. I don't mean to intrude, but you seem like you could use a friend. Something about his gentle manner broke through Sarah's defenses. Before she knew it, she was sitting on a bench outside the medical complex, wrapped in James's jacket, telling him about Jack's betrayal, though not about her hidden identity. You know what I've learned? James said after listening without judgment. People who can't see your value don't deserve access to it. The simple truth of his words resonated deep within her. He wrote his number on a coffee cup sleeve. If you ever need a friend. No pressure, no expectations. No flirtation, just genuine human kindness, something Sarah had almost forgotten existed. As she drove home, her phone rang with an unknown number. Thinking it might be James, she answered. Sarah? It's Noah. Jack's business partner?
Can we meet?
It's important. An hour later, Noah Lewis sat across from Sarah at a quiet cafe, nervously turning his coffee mug between his palms. Sarah, please. You can't let this divorce happen. Jack doesn't know what I know. If you leave, if your father pulls his support. Sarah froze. My father's support. Noah's eyes widened. He never told you? Every major investor in our company came through convenient coincidences, introductions from people who happen to know people, all orchestrated by Robert Harrison. How do you know about my father? Sarah whispered. I figured it out 6 months ago. The pattern was too perfect. Every time we needed something, it appeared. I did some digging. Noah leaned forward. Oh my God. He doesn't know who you are, does he? Sarah's hand instinctively went to her stomach, protecting her child from the ugly truth. Jack's success, the very success he claimed she couldn't understand, had been quietly engineered by her father all along. By the way, if you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, don't break my heart like that. Tap the button. Let's keep growing together. It's a celebration of new beginnings, Jack announced over the phone, his voice artificially bright. The annual Harrison Christmas party. I want you to be there. Sarah gripped her phone tighter. You want your pregnant wife to attend a party celebrating your new relationship? For closure, Jack explained, as if offering a generosity. To show there are no hard feelings. You can sign the papers, we can be adults about this. My lawyers will be there. What Jack didn't say, what Victoria's Instagram stories revealed, was that the Christmas party was being positioned as Brittany's debut into their social circle. Holiday elegance with my future sister-in-law, Victoria had captioned a photo of herself and Brittany shopping for dresses. I'm not going, Sarah told May as they sat in Sarah's new apartment, a place she'd moved to after finding Jack and Brittany in their marital bed 3 days after he'd served the divorce papers. Maybe you should, May countered, surprising her. Sign the papers publicly. Show them all who Sarah Chen really is, dignified, graceful, stronger than they could ever imagine. Before Sarah could respond, her phone rang. Hello. Sarah, it's Dad. My security team just informed me about the divorce filing. Sarah closed her eyes. Of course her father had people monitoring public records. I was going to tell you. Let me handle this, Robert Harrison said, his voice carrying the weight of a man accustomed to solving problems with money and influence. I'll destroy him, Sarah. One phone call.
No, Dad.
I need to handle this my way. By attending his Christmas party, Victoria's broadcasting it live. Sarah sighed. You're monitoring her social media? I'm protecting my daughter and grandchild, he corrected. At least let me come with you.
No, Sarah insisted.
This is about proving to myself I don't need rescue. After hanging up, Sarah's phone buzzed with an email. Her lawyer, her father's top attorney, pretending to be court-appointed, had sent her the finalized divorce agreement. The moment you sign, the accompanying message read, your father's pulling everything. Jack's company will collapse by noon the next day. As if the universe were determined to test her resolve further, Sarah's phone buzzed again. A text from James. How are you holding up? They'd been texting daily since their chance meeting. Nothing romantic, just support. He was going through his own challenges, having lost his wife to cancer 2 years prior, thrown himself into work, and was finally learning to live again. Their connection was about 2 wounded people finding light. He still didn't know who she was. She loved that. Heading to my ex's Christmas party to sign divorce papers, she replied. Just another festive Tuesday. Text me the address, James wrote back. In case of emergency. Sarah hesitated, then sent it.
Just in case.
That night, as Sarah prepared for the party, selecting a simple black maternity dress that concealed its Givenchy origins, her phone rang again. Miss Chen? Dr. Patel here. I've reviewed your latest blood work. Your blood pressure is concerning. I must caution you against stressful situations. They could trigger early labor. Another obstacle. Another reason to back out. But Sarah was done running. I understand the risks, she told her doctor. But some things are worth standing up for. As her Uber pulled up to the Harrison mansion, Sarah took a deep breath. Through the windows, she could see the glittering party in full swing. Victoria's phone was mounted on a tripod, live streaming the event to her now 40,000 followers, her count having mysteriously surged since she'd started posting about Jack's freedom journey. Sarah stepped out of the car, one hand protectively over her stomach. It's okay, little one, she whispered. Mommy's done making herself small. Behind her, unnoticed in the darkness, a black Bentley pulled to the curb. Robert Harrison watched his daughter walk toward the house, phone to his ear. Keep the live stream open, he instructed his head of security. The moment she signs those papers, I want every investor, landlord, and creditor notified. And I want a full dossier on every person in that room within the hour. The moment Sarah entered the Harrison mansion, conversations hushed like a theater before the main act. Jack stood near the massive Christmas tree, Brittany clinging to his arm in a dress that screamed new money. Victoria immediately swung her live stream camera toward the door, narrating in a stage whisper. And here comes the soon-to-be ex, looking, well, pregnant. Patricia Harrison, Jack's mother, swept forward with a champagne flute in hand. Sarah, dear. So brave of you to come. The lawyers are by the fireplace. Let's not drag this out, shall we? With every eye in the room watching, Sarah walked across the polished marble floor, her head high despite the whispers trailing in her wake. Is that the same dress she wore to Thanksgiving last year? God, she's gotten so big. Jack really dodged a bullet. The lawyers had arranged the papers on an antique desk, the Harrison family crest emblazoned on the blotter beneath them. One of them, a young associate who couldn't quite meet Sarah's eyes, handed her a pen. Initial here, here, and here. Full signature on the final page. As Sarah took the pen, Jack approached, Brittany still attached to his side. Thank you for being reasonable about this, he said, his voice carrying just enough for the live stream to catch. You'll be well taken care of course. The settlement is very generous. Sarah nearly laughed. The generous settlement was $50,000, a pittance compared to what Jack would soon lose. She bent over the papers, pen poised to sign, when Jack's phone rang. He frowned, checking the screen. I need to take this. He stepped away, his voice quickly rising. What do you mean pulling out? We have a contract. As Sarah signed her name on the first page, Jack received another call. Then another. In real time, his business was collapsing. The color drained from his face as he paced near the windows, his voice growing increasingly desperate. Market conditions? What market conditions? Nothing's changed since yesterday. Noah, Jack's business partner, watched the scene unfold with growing horror. He pulled out his phone, frantically typing something into Google. His face went slack as he read whatever appeared on his screen. Victoria, oblivious to the business drama, zoomed her camera in on Sarah signing the papers. And there it is, folks. Jack is officially back on the market. Sorry, ladies, he's taken, but you can still follow his journey with Brittany on my page. Brittany preened for the camera, flashing her wrists stacked with bracelets. Being part of the Harrison family is a dream come true. My father always taught me to aim high. From across the room, Noah approached Victoria's live stream setup, his eyes never leaving Sarah. Victoria, maybe turn that off for a bit? Why would I do that? We're trending. As Sarah signed the final page, she overheard Brittany's voice. Oh my God, Jack, look, Sarah's maiden name is Harrison. Wait, she couldn't be, no. No way. The Harrison Hotel's Empire Harrison. Jack laughed, though strange showed at the corners of his mouth as his phone continued to buzz with catastrophic news. Sarah? No, she's just a coordinator. Probably a common name. But doubt had crept in. Jack pulled out his phone and typed something. Sarah knew exactly what he was searching. Sarah Harrison plus Robert Harrison. The change in his expression confirmed it. His face drained of color as realization dawned. Too late. Sarah placed the pen down with deliberate calm. Goodbye, Jack. I wish you and Brittany every happiness. She turned to walk out, ignoring Patricia's suddenly calculating expression, Victoria's confused stare, and Jack's desperate attempt to process what he was reading on his phone. As she reached the grand staircase outside, a wave of dizziness swept over her. She clutched the stone balustrade, her vision blurring. Sarah? James Reed stood at the bottom of the steps, concern etched across his face. He rushed up to support her elbow. I was just about to text you. Are you okay? You came, she whispered, surprised despite having given him the address. You said emergency. This seemed like it qualified. He helped her down the remaining steps. Let me drive you home. Thank you, Sarah managed, leaning on him more heavily than she'd intended. I just need to sit down. As James led her toward his car, a modest Honda with a car seat in the back for his niece, Patricia's voice rang out from the doorway. Good riddance to gold-digging trash. The words cut through the night air. But Sarah didn't turn around. Inside, Jack frantically scrolled through article after article, the truth unfurling before him in black and white. Robert Harrison, billionaire real estate mogul, with daughter Sarah at charity gala. Harrison Hotel's heiress completes Harvard Business School with honors. Sarah Harrison, sole heir to the Harrison fortune, spotted in Manhattan. For the first time, Jack realized he might have made a catastrophic mistake. Before we go on, quick question. Are you subscribed? If not, go ahead and fix that for me. I promise I'll keep the stories coming. The next morning, Jack awoke to the sound of his phone ringing incessantly. He reached for it, head pounding from too much champagne, the celebration having continued long after Sarah left, though his own participation had been increasingly distracted. Hello, he mumbled. Mr. Harrison? This is Cambridge Partners. I'm calling to inform you that our investment fund has decided to withdraw from our arrangement, effective immediately. Before Jack could respond, the line went dead. His phone immediately rang again. Mr. Harrison? Silicon Valley First Bank. "We're calling about your business loan." The calls kept coming. By 10 a.m., every investor had pulled out. By noon, his office building's property management company had terminated their lease. The building, he discovered, was owned by a subsidiary of Harrison Holdings. By 2 p.m., Jack received notice that his luxury apartment, financed through what he now realized was a shell company connected to Harrison Enterprises, was being foreclosed due to contractual violations. His credit cards were declined when he attempted to book a hotel. In 12 hours, Jack Harrison had gone from millionaire tech entrepreneur to drowning in debt. "Call her," Noah urged when they met at a coffee shop, Jack having been locked out of their office building. "Apologize.
Beg.
Do whatever it takes." But Sarah had blocked Jack's number, changed her own. When he drove to her old apartment in desperation, he found it empty, the landlord informing him that Ms. Chun had moved out weeks ago. "This is a nightmare," Jack muttered, slumped in Noah's car outside the empty apartment. "How did I not know? How did I not see it?" "Because you saw what you wanted to see," Noah replied with unexpected harshness. "You saw a woman who adored you, supported you, believed in you, and you decided she wasn't enough." Across town, the fallout continued. Patricia's phone rang with the news that her country club membership had been revoked. The board, having seen Victoria's live stream and decided her behavior fell below club standards. Victoria herself woke to find her Instagram follower count plummeting as the internet discovered her mockery of a pregnant billionaire's daughter. Brand partnerships vanished overnight, her inbox filling with cancellations rather than opportunities. Brittany, upon learning that Jack was now broke up with him via Instagram story. "Sometimes people aren't who they present themselves to be. Listen to your intuition, ladies. #leveling up, #know your worth." But the greatest devastation was yet to come. That afternoon, Jack received a call from the SEC. An investigation had been opened into his company for potential investor fraud. The books Noah had been keeping revealed that Jack had been inflating numbers, assuming future funding would cover the discrepancies. Funding that had now evaporated. Sarah, meanwhile, had retreated to a secured apartment her father had arranged, ignoring the explosion of messages from people who had sneered at her just days before. "You don't have to hide," Robert Harrison told her over the phone. "Come to the estate. Let me take care of you." "I need space, Dad," Sarah replied, "to figure out who I am now." Her phone buzzed with a text from James. "I'd love to see you again." She stared at it, finger hovering over the reply button before setting the phone down without responding. She was too broken, too raw. She pushed away the one genuine connection she had because she didn't trust her own judgment anymore. How could she, when she'd been so wrong about Jack? That night, alone in her new apartment, Sarah felt the first sharp pain. Then another. She glanced at the calendar, 7 weeks early. "No," she whispered, hand on her belly. "Not yet, little one." But her baby had other plans. Sarah called 911, then May, then finally her father as the contractions intensified. In the hospital, surrounded by the best medical team her father's money could buy, though they pretended to be regular hospital staff, Sarah faced her deepest terror. "I'll never know if anyone loves me for me. My father was right. The money ruins everything. Jack loved me until he thought I wasn't worthy. James will only want me if he knows who I am. I'm going to raise this baby alone, and they'll never have a normal life." As doctors prepared her for an emergency C-section, Sarah had never felt more alone. Across town, Jack sat in his stripped apartment, a half-empty bottle of whiskey, his only company. His phone, one of the few possessions not yet repossessed, contained hundreds of unanswered messages to Sarah. He called Noah, voice slurred with alcohol and regret. "I destroyed everything, didn't I?" Noah's response was simple. "No. You destroyed everyone. Settle in, get comfortable, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. You're safe here." "It's a girl," the doctor announced as a thin, angry cry filled the operating room. Small, but strong. Sarah, trembling from medication and emotion, reached out as they placed the tiny bundle on her chest. "Hello, Emma," she whispered, the name she'd chosen months ago. "I'm your mom." In that moment, holding her newborn daughter, born healthy despite her early arrival, Sarah felt a clarity she'd been missing for years. "I spent 3 years hiding who I was to find authentic love. But I was so busy hiding, I forgot to be authentic myself. I never gave Jack the chance to love all of me. And I'm about to make the same mistake with James." Over the next 2 days, as Sarah recovered and Emma gained strength in the NICU, she made peace with her decisions. She hadn't been wrong to want love based on who she was rather than what she owned, but she had been wrong to build that love on partial truths. On the third day, as Sarah sat beside Emma's incubator, her hand through the port to touch her daughter's impossibly small fingers, the door to the NICU opened. James Reed stood there, still in scrubs, his expression uncertain. "May called me," he explained. "I hope that's okay. I work here, pediatric surgery. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me." Sarah looked up at him, this man who had shown her nothing but kindness when she needed it most. "I'm glad you're here. There's something I need to tell you." They sat in the small family room adjacent to the NICU, cups of mediocre hospital coffee between them. "My father is Robert Harrison," Sarah said, without preamble. "I'm worth about $800 million in trust funds. I hid it because I wanted to be loved for me. But now I don't know who me is. I don't know if I'm Sarah Chin the coordinator or Sarah Harrison the heiress, and I'm terrified you'll only want one of them." James set his coffee down, his expression thoughtful. "Sarah, I'm a pediatric surgeon who volunteers at free clinics because I lost my wife to a disease we couldn't afford to treat before I finished med school. Do you really think money impresses me?" He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I watched you sit in that parking lot, pregnant and heartbroken, and choose to handle it with grace instead of revenge. That's who you are. The woman I want to know is the one right here." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "How can you be so certain? You barely know me." "I know enough," he said simply. "And I'd like to know more, Sarah Chun, Sarah Harrison, or whoever you decide you want to be." Before she could respond, the door opened and May burst in, waving her phone. "Sarah, you need to see this." She thrust the phone into Sarah's hands. On the screen was Victoria's Christmas party live stream, now with over 47 million views. The comments section had exploded. "The way they treated a pregnant woman is disgusting. Sarah Chin Harrison is a queen for keeping her composure. When you find out your gold digger wife is a billionaire's daughter rolling on the floor laughing." But more importantly, women were sharing their own stories of being underestimated, discarded, mocked for not being enough. Sarah's quiet dignity in the face of cruelty had resonated with millions. "You've become a symbol," May said, squeezing onto the small couch beside Sarah. "People are asking who you are, what you stand for." Sarah handed the phone back, a new resolve settling over her. "I know exactly who I am now. And I know what I want to do next." That evening, Robert Harrison visited his daughter and granddaughter at the hospital. He stood at the NICU window, watching Emma sleep. "She's perfect," he said softly. "Just like you were." Sarah leaned against her father's shoulder. "I've made a decision, Dad." "About the Harrison boy? What do you want to do about him?" "I can destroy him completely, or make this all go away." Sarah shook her head. "Neither, Dad. I want to show him, and everyone, that dignity and grace are more powerful than revenge or money. And I want to use my privilege to make sure no woman ever feels as small as I did in that moment." Robert Harrison studied his daughter's face, seeing in it the same determination that had built his empire. He nodded once. "Whatever you need." As Sarah returned to Emma's side, her phone lit up with a text from James. "Having dinner in the cafeteria. Join me when you can." For the first time in months, Sarah smiled without reservation. She had a daughter to raise, a purpose to fulfill, and possibly a new beginning with a man who saw her. All of her. Before we continue, can I ask a tiny favor? Hit that subscribe button. It means more than you know. 1 month after Emma's birth, Sarah sat in a booth at Dino's Diner, the same quiet establishment where she'd had her first real conversation with James after the Christmas party. The vinyl seats were worn, the coffee was mediocre, but the place held a significance that five-star restaurants couldn't match. The bell above the door jingled. Jack Harrison entered, a shadow of his former self. His designer suit had been replaced by jeans and a wrinkled button-down. The confident swagger was gone, replaced by the hesitant movements of a man expecting another blow. His eyes found Sarah immediately. She sat straight-backed, composed, a quiet elegance in her simple blouse and pants. The past month had transformed her, not just physically recovering from childbirth, but emotionally reclaiming her power. "Sarah," Jack said, sliding into the booth opposite her. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." She nodded once, neither warm nor cold. "You look tired. Bankruptcy proceedings will do that." He attempted a self-deprecating smile that fell flat. "I assume that's why we're meeting? To finalize my destruction?" Sarah reached into her bag and withdrew an envelope, sliding it across the table. "Actually, no." Jack stared at the envelope, not touching it. "What is this? A restraining order?" "Open it." With shaking hands, Jack opened the envelope and withdrew several documents. His eyes widened as he reviewed the contents. 1. A check for $100,000. 2. A job offer at a Harrison subsidiary, entry-level, but legitimate. 3. A contract stipulating he could never contact her or Emma, but would receive photos quarterly. 4. Full custody to Sarah with 0 child support requirements. "Why would you?" His voice broke. "After everything." Sarah leaned forward slightly. "Because my daughter is going to ask me one day what kind of person her mother is. And I want to tell her I chose grace over bitterness. You were cruel, Jack. But I was dishonest. I let you marry someone who didn't fully exist." She tapped the documents with one manicured nail. "This check gives you a chance to rebuild honestly. The job gives you a purpose. The photos let you know your daughter is loved and safe. And the contract protects us all from making more mistakes." Jack stared at her, bewilderment crossing his features. "I don't understand. Your father could destroy me with a phone call." "He already did," Sarah replied evenly. "This is me choosing something different. But how do I?" Jack struggled to find words. "How do I rebuild from nothing?" Sarah outlined precisely how he could use the money to settle his immediate debts, how the position, while entry-level, offered real advancement potential based on performance, not connections. She drew on her Harvard Business School training and her father's hard-earned wisdom. "My father was broke once," she revealed. "Did you know that? Before Harrison Hotels, he slept in his car for 6 months. Made ruthless choices he still regrets. He gave you the lessons he learned the hard way. Now I'm giving you a second chance he never had." Jack listened with growing attention, desperation giving way to focused calculation. The businessman in him recognizing the lifeline she was offering. From a nearby booth, James watched discreetly, holding baby Emma against his shoulder. Close enough to intervene if needed, but giving Sarah the space to handle this herself. May sat beside him, her phone recording the conversation with Sarah's permission, not for revenge, but protection. "Did you ever really love me?" Jack finally asked, the question that had clearly tormented him. Sarah met his gaze directly. "I loved who you were when we met, but you loved who you thought I could become. Neither of us loved the truth. That's why it failed." Before Jack could respond, the diner door banged open. Patricia Harrison stormed in, designer sunglasses pushed up into her perfectly coiffed hair. "There you are," she exclaimed, marching toward their booth. "Sarah, this has gone far enough. You need to fix this. Do you have any idea what your little stunt has done to our family? We're social pariahs. Victoria's influencer career is ruined." Sarah stood slowly, drawing herself to her full height. In that moment, with the afternoon sun streaming through the windows behind her, she was every inch Robert Harrison's daughter. "Mrs. Harrison, oh wait, that's not your name anymore, is it?" Sarah's voice carried a quiet authority that silenced the entire diner. "You taught me something valuable at that Christmas party. You taught me that cruelty reveals more about the person delivering it than the person receiving it. I hope you find peace with yourself, but you'll find it without any access to me or my daughter." Patricia's face flushed with anger. How dare you speak to me that way? After everything The lady asked you to leave. Robert Harrison stood in the diner doorway, his imposing figure filling the frame. He hadn't raised his voice, but the steel in his tone was unmistakable. I suggest you respect that. Patricia's mouth opened and closed before she turned on her heel and fled. Jack looked from Robert to Sarah, realization dawning. You didn't orchestrate any of this, did you? The social media backlash, the canceled partnerships, all of it. No, Sarah confirmed. That was just people recognizing cruelty when they saw it. The viral Christmas party video had led to real consequences. Victoria lost brand partnerships for mocking a pregnant woman. Patricia was dropped from charity boards for her behavior. Brittany's father's dealerships faced boycotts for his daughter's gold digging. But Sarah hadn't engineered any of it. Social accountability had done its work naturally. As Sarah gathered her things to leave, Jack placed his hand on the documents. I'll take the job. And thank you. I don't deserve this second chance. No, Sarah agreed. You don't. But Emma deserves a mother who chooses compassion over revenge.
This isn't about you, Jack.
It never was. She walked away from the table, toward James and Emma, toward her father waiting respectfully by the door, toward the future she was building, not as Sarah Chun or Sarah Harrison, but simply as herself. If you're feeling inspired by Sarah's strength right now, take a second to subscribe. Every week I share stories of dignity overcoming cruelty, and I promise you won't want to miss what's coming next. 6 months later, Sarah stood at a podium in the grand ballroom of the Harrison Hotel flagship, cameras flashing as she cut the ribbon on the Chin Harrison Foundation. The organization's mission statement displayed on banners behind her, supporting women through transition, transformation, and triumph. 3 years ago, I hid my last name because I thought it was the only way to find authentic love, Sarah told the assembled crowd. Today, I embrace both my names. Chun for the woman who wanted to make it on her own, and Harrison for the legacy I now proudly continue. The foundation would fund support for women leaving toxic relationships, provide childcare for single mothers, and offer business grants for women entrepreneurs who'd been told they're not enough. In its first 6 months of quiet operation, it had already helped over 2,000 women nationwide. 3 months after that, Sarah gave a TED Talk that went viral even faster than Victoria's Christmas party livestream had. I spent years hiding my wealth to find authentic love, she told the rapt audience. But authenticity isn't about hiding parts of yourself. It's about being honest about all of them. I'm Sarah Chin, the coordinator who loved too trustingly. I'm also Sarah Harrison, the billionaire's daughter who learned dignity is priceless. Both are real. Both are me. Backstage after her talk, James waited with Emma in his arms. At 10 months old, she was a cheerful, curious baby who reached for her mother with delighted recognition. That was incredible, James said, kissing Sarah's cheek as she took Emma. You had them in tears, including me. Good practice for your wedding speech, Sarah teased, bouncing Emma gently. About that, James reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Sarah's eyes widened. I was going to wait until dinner, but... He opened the box to reveal not a massive diamond as might be expected for a Harrison, but a simple platinum band inset with tiny sapphires. Emma's birthstone. Sarah Chin Harrison, I will never make you feel like you need to be less. And I will never love you for anything except who you are in this moment and who you choose to become tomorrow. Will you marry me? Sarah's free hand trembled as she touched the ring. You didn't go for the giant rock everyone would expect. James laughed. You told me once you'd hate that. I listened. Yes, she whispered, tears spilling over. Yes, I'll marry you. They wed 3 months later in a small ceremony at Robert Harrison's Napa Valley estate. Only 40 guests, all people who had known Sarah before the reveal of her identity. May was maid of honor. Emma the flower girl, carried down the aisle by her doting grandfather. As life settled into a new normal, the loose ends of Sarah's past found their own resolution. Jack successfully completed the program Sarah had outlined for him, working his way up steadily in the Harrison subsidiary. After a year, he sent Sarah a letter, Not seeking contact, just acknowledgement. Thank you for teaching me that character matters more than status. I'm becoming the man I should have been. Patricia wrote a public apology that Sarah never publicly acknowledged, not out of cruelty, but because she had moved on. Privately, Sarah arranged for Patricia to receive therapy for her status anxiety and family counseling with Jack, believing healing could happen even without her direct involvement. Victoria approached Sarah about interviewing her for a redemption documentary about growth and accountability. Sarah agreed on the condition that all proceeds go to women's shelters. The resulting film won a small festival award and gave Victoria a new direction for her career, one based on substance rather than appearance. Noah, Jack's former business partner who had tried to warn Sarah before the divorce, became the Chin Harrison Foundation's CFO. "You are the one person who tried to stop the train wreck," Sarah told him when offering the position. "I value loyalty and integrity." On Emma's first birthday, they held a small party at James and Sarah's home, a beautiful but not ostentatious house overlooking a nature preserve. There were no photographers, no social media posts, just genuine love and celebration. That evening, after the guests had gone and James was cleaning up downstairs, Sarah sat in the nursery rocker with a sleeping Emma in her arms. "One day, I'll tell you this whole story," she whispered to her daughter. "And I hope you learn what I did. Your worth isn't defined by others' perception of you, not their mockery and not their praise. You define yourself." She placed Emma gently in her crib, tucking the blanket Robert Harrison had hand-selected around her tiny form. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed with a notification. A message from a woman in Oklahoma, thanking her for the Foundation's grant. "You gave me the courage to leave. You showed me I could rebuild. Thank you for being the example I needed." Sarah smiled, put the phone down, and went downstairs to join James on their porch swing. The evening air was cool, the stars just beginning to emerge. James wrapped his arm around her shoulders, and they sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies appear in the garden. "Happy?" James asked simply. Sarah nodded, leaning into his embrace. "Complete." Sometimes the greatest power isn't in revealing who you are to others, it's in finally being honest with yourself. Sarah didn't need revenge. She needed to stop apologizing for existing. And once she did, everything else fell into place. What do you think? Did Sarah make the right choice? Would you have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, your worth isn't determined by those who can't see it. Until next time, beautiful souls, stay strong, stay dignified, and know your value. Subscribe for more stories that will make you think, feel, and believe in the power of grace. I'll see you in the next one.